Picture a dry, rocky hillside in western Colorado in the summer of 1900. A team of fossil hunters is chipping away at the earth, and slowly, bone by bone, something impossible begins to emerge. Vertebrae so large they look like they belong to no animal that could ever have walked the earth. Ribs curving upward like the beams of a cathedral. A hip bone the size of a dinner table. What they had found would turn out to be one of the largest, tallest animals to ever walk on land. A creature so massive that today its mounted skeleton pierces through a museum ceiling nearly 4 stories high. This is the story of Brachiosaurus, the arm lizard, the giant that didn't just walk the earth but reached for the sky. The name Brachiosaurus comes from the Greek words brachion, meaning arm, and sauros, meaning lizard, literally the arm lizard. It's an unusual name for a dinosaur, but it points to the single feature that made this animal so strange, even among its giant relatives. Its front legs were longer than its back legs. Almost every other long-necked sauropod, Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, Brontosaurus, had hind limbs that were taller than or equal to their back limbs, giving their backs a straight or gently sloping profile. Brachiosaurus was different. Its shoulders stood higher than its hips, its back sloped downward toward the tail, and its neck rose almost vertically from those tall front shoulders, more like a modern giraffe than like most of its dinosaur cousins. That body plan wasn't an accident. It gave Brachiosaurus access to a feeding zone almost no other animal on Earth at the time could reach, the high canopy, well above the tallest ferns and cycads that low browsers like Stegosaurus fed on, and even where most other sauropods could comfortably stretch. Standing at the shoulder alone, Brachiosaurus reached roughly 6 meters, about 20 feet, and with its neck extended, its head could rise to 12 meters, nearly 40 feet above the ground. That's taller than a 4-story building. Estimates of its total length run between 18 and 21 meters, up to nearly 70 feet nose to tail, with weight estimates ranging from 28 to as much as 58 tons depending on the study and the method used to calculate it. However you measure it, Brachiosaurus was and remains one of the largest land animals ever to have existed. Before we go further, it's worth answering a question a lot of people ask. How do scientists actually know a skeleton like this is around 150 million years old and not some far more recent age? The answer comes down to 2 complementary techniques: stratigraphy and radiometric dating. Stratigraphy is the study of rock layers. Sediment is deposited over time in a predictable sequence. So, generally speaking, the deeper a fossil is found within undisturbed rock, the older it is relative to the layers above it. Brachiosaurus fossils come from a sequence of rock known as the Morrison Formation, a vast band of sedimentary rock stretching across the western United States, famous for preserving an entire ecosystem of late Jurassic dinosaurs. But stratigraphy alone only tells us relative age, older than this layer, younger than that. To get an actual number, scientists turn to radiometric dating. In the Morrison Formation, and formations like it, thin layers of volcanic ash are sometimes preserved between the sedimentary beds containing the bones. These ash layers contain tiny crystals, such as zircon, that trap radioactive isotopes, such as uranium, at the moment the ash cooled and solidified. Because uranium decays to lead at a fixed, well-understood rate, scientists can measure the ratio of uranium to lead within these crystals and calculate with remarkable precision how long ago that ash layer was deposited. Using this method, combined with argon-based dating techniques found elsewhere in the formation, researchers have dated the Morrison Formation to roughly between 157 and 150 million years ago, placing Brachiosaurus firmly in the Late Jurassic period. That makes it tens of millions of years older than Tyrannosaurus rex and the other famous dinosaurs of the very end of the Cretaceous. Brachiosaurus was already long extinct before Tyrannosaurus rex even evolved. The story of Brachiosaurus as a named species begins with a paleontologist named Elmer S. Riggs, working for Chicago's Field Columbian Museum, known today as the Field Museum of Natural History. In July of 1900, Riggs led an expedition into the Badlands near Grand Junction, Colorado, searching for large dinosaur remains. His team uncovered a partial skeleton, dorsal vertebrae, ribs, a sacrum, and part of the hip embedded in the hillside. This photograph, taken at the excavation site itself, shows those very bones still half buried in the rock, exactly as Riggs's team found them. Even from this fragmentary material, Riggs recognized something extraordinary. The proportions of the limb bones and the sheer size of the vertebrae told him this was unlike any sauropod skeleton described before. In 1903, Riggs formally described and named Brachiosaurus altithorax, the species name altithorax, meaning deep chest, a reference to the animal's unusually tall barrel-like ribcage. At the time, based on the bones recovered, Riggs calculated Brachiosaurus to be the largest land animal known to science, a title that, in various forms, has followed the genus and its relatives ever since. But the most famous Brachiosaurus skeleton in the world isn't the one Riggs found in Colorado. It's one that was unearthed nearly a decade later on another continent entirely. Between 1909 and 1912, German paleontologist Werner Janensch led a series of major expeditions to Tendaguru in what was then German East Africa, modern-day Tanzania. Over those years, his team, working with hundreds of local laborers, excavated an extraordinary quantity of dinosaur bone, including the remains of several giant sauropods. Among them was a skeleton so complete and so enormous that once assembled, it would become the tallest mounted dinosaur skeleton on Earth, a record it still holds today, recognized by Guinness Book of World Records. Originally classified as a species of Brachiosaurus, Brachiosaurus branchi, named in honor of paleontologist Wilhelm von Branca, this specimen was mounted in Berlin's Museum für Naturkunde, where it still towers over visitors beneath the museum's soaring glass ceiling. Standing roughly 13.27 meters, about 43.5 feet tall, this mount lets visitors experience, in a way few other fossils can offer, the sheer physical scale these animals reached. People walking beneath it are dwarfed instantly, a living reminder of just how large land animals could grow. The skull itself, long, boxy, and fitted with rows of narrow, peg-shaped teeth, was built not for chewing, but for stripping leaves and needles from branches. Sauropods like this one swallowed their food largely whole, relying on massive digestive systems rather than their teeth to break down tough plant material. For most of the 20th century, the Colorado specimen and the Tendaguru specimen were both considered members of the same genus, Brachiosaurus. But as more detailed comparisons were made between the American and African bones, paleontologists began noticing consistent anatomical differences, variations in the shape of the vertebrae, the proportions of the neck, and the structure of the skull. In 2009, paleontologist Michael P. Taylor published a detailed reanalysis concluding that the African species was in fact distinct enough to warrant its own genus. He renamed it Giraffatitan branchi, giant giraffe, separating it from the North American Brachiosaurus altithorax. This means that the famous towering skeleton in Berlin, the one most people picture when they hear the name Brachiosaurus, is now formally classified by many researchers as Giraffatitan. True Brachiosaurus, in the strictest modern sense, is known from far less complete remains, still centered on Riggs's original Colorado discovery and additional related material found later in the American West. Not every paleontologist agrees the split should be so firm, and the debate over exactly how closely related these two giants were and whether Giraffatitan deserves fully separate status continues in the scientific literature today. It's a reminder that even one of the most recognizable dinosaurs in the world is still, in some sense, a work in progress.
Living at this scale raises an obvious question. How did an animal this large sustain itself? The answer lies largely in that long neck. By feeding at heights other herbivores simply couldn't reach, Brachiosaurus avoided direct competition for food with the many other plant-eating dinosaurs sharing the Morrison Formation's floodplains and forests. Animals like Stegosaurus and Camptosaurus, which grazed at ground level or from low shrubs. Some researchers estimate that an animal of this size may have needed to consume several hundred pounds of plant material daily just to sustain its body mass, a near constant task of feeding, likely carried out slowly and steadily throughout the day, given the animal's probable low metabolic demands relative to its enormous size. The exact posture of that neck, however, has been a subject of real scientific debate. Early reconstructions, including some of the very first mounted skeletons, showed the neck rising in a steep, almost vertical curve. Later biomechanical studies, examining how the vertebrae would have interlocked and how much muscular support the neck could have realistically had, suggested a more moderate, gently curved posture might have been more typical during normal movement, with the fully raised position reserved for occasional high browsing. Either way, nothing else in its ecosystem was built quite like it. Brachiosaurus occupied an ecological niche almost entirely its own. The tools and techniques used to recover Brachiosaurus fossils have changed enormously since Riggs's 1900 expedition. In that era, Rylot hunters relied on hand picks, chisels, and plaster jackets to stabilize and transport bone, techniques that were, for their time, remarkably effective, but painstaking and slow. Modern excavations of Morrison Formation sauropods still rely on many of these same fundamentals, brushes, owls, and plaster field jackets. But today's preparators also use pneumatic air tools, CT scanning, and 3D digital modeling to study and reconstruct bones with a level of precision Riggs and Janish's teams could never have imagined. That evolution, from field sketch and plaster cast to CT scan and digital render, is part of why our picture of Brachiosaurus has changed so much over the past century. Every generation of paleontologists has been able to look closer, measure more precisely, and challenge assumptions made by the generation before.
For most people, the closest they'll ever come to understanding the true scale of Brachiosaurus isn't in a book or on a screen. It's standing directly underneath a mounted skeleton like the one in Berlin. Displayed alongside other giants from the same era, the sheer difference in scale between species becomes immediately visible, and Brachiosaurus, even among other sauropods, stands apart. Modern digital reconstructions attempt to bring that same scale to life, imagining these animals not as static bones, but as living creatures moving through Jurassic floodplains and forests, their long necks rising above the tree line as they browsed. Life-size replicas like this one, built for museums, parks, and public exhibitions, serve the same purpose mounted skeletons do, closing the gap, however briefly, between us and an animal that vanished from the Earth roughly 150 million years ago. Brachiosaurus has become one of the most recognizable dinosaurs in the world, not because it was the fiercest or because it left behind the most complete skeleton, but because of what it represents, the sheer physical limits of how large a land animal can grow and how high it can reach. From a hillside in Colorado in the summer of 1900 to an expedition camp in Tendaguru a decade later, to a debate over genus names still being argued in scientific papers today, the story of Brachiosaurus and its towering relative Giraffatitan is a story still being pieced together, one vertebra at a time. If you enjoyed digging into the real science, the real discoveries, and the real debates behind Brachiosaurus, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we uncover a new fossil story like this every single week. Drop a comment below. Do you think the Berlin giant should really carry its own name, Giraffatitan, or should it still be considered a true Brachiosaurus? Let's debate it down there. And if you want to see more deep dives like this one into famous named specimens, record-breaking skeletons, and the scientists still piecing together prehistoric life bone by bone, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.